Welcome back to Tiny Tales Show. Today's story is about a clever but curious kid named Coco who tried to bake cookies all by herself, but things got a little sticky and a little gigantic. Let's find out what happens in Coco the Cat and the Giant Dough Monster. In the cozy town of Whiskerville, there lived a cheerful orange cat named Coco. Coco loved two things more than anything in the world: baking and eating. Every morning, the smell of freshly baked muffins and pies filled her little kitchen. Coco wore a bright pink apron that said, "Queen of the Kitchen." Her best friends, Benny the Bunny and Dottie the Duck, loved coming over to taste her treats. One sunny morning, Coco stretched, yawned, and said, "Today's the perfect day to bake something special." What should I make?" She looked at her recipe book. "Cookies, chocolate chip cookies," she purred excitedly. "Soft, chewy, and also yummy." Dottie the duck waddled in, quacking happily. "Cookies?" "Oh, Coco, can I help?" Benny the bunny hopped into. "Me too." "I can stir the dough," but Coco shook her head proudly. "Oh no, my friends. Today, I want to bake all by myself." "I'm going to surprise you." "Okay," said Benny. "But be careful. Baking alone can be tricky." Coco winked. "I'm a professional baker." What could possibly go wrong? She tied her apron, put on her chef's hat, and began to gather ingredients. "Let's see, I need flour, butter, sugar, eggs, and chocolate chips." She opened her cupboards and started mixing everything into a big bowl. But Coco had a little problem. She didn't like following directions exactly. 2 cups of flour, she read. I'll just add 4. Bigger cookies are better. Half a cup of sugar. Nah, maybe 2. She poured and poured until the bowl was overflowing. When she cracked the eggs, one slipped from her paw and splat right on her nose. She giggled. Oops. A little egg on the whisker never hurt anyone. Coco mixed and mixed until her arms got tired. The dough was thick, sticky, and heavy. She said, "Maybe I need some more milk to make it softer." So she poured milk. And then a little more. And then maybe too much. The dough became super gooey. It stretched and bubbled. "That's weird," Coco said, tilting her head. Then, blorp! The dough started to wiggle. "Wait, dough doesn't move by itself," she gasped. The bowl trembled. The dough wobbled. And then, plop! It spilled over the edge and onto the counter. Eek! Coco jumped back. The dough was growing bigger and bigger until it looked like a big, squishy blob. It even had little cookie crumbs for eyes. "Meow! It's alive!" Coco cried. The dough wobbled again and said in a gooey voice, "Doof hungry." Coco's whiskers stood straight up. "You can talk!" The dough monster blinked. "Cookies! Must make more." Before Coco could stop it, the giant blob rolled across the kitchen, scooping up flour, sugar, and chocolate chips. "Stop! You're making a mess!" Coco shouted. But the dough monster didn't listen. It bounced onto the table, splat, then rolled over the floor, leaving sticky footprints everywhere. "Oh no! My clean kitchen!" Coco meowed. Just then, Benny and Dottie peeked in. "What's all that noise?" Benny asked. "They froze. Ah! What is that thing?" Dottie quacked in fright. "It's my cookie dough, but it turned into a monster," Coco cried. The dough monster waved its gooey arms and shouted, "Cookie party!" It started flinging cookie dough everywhere, on the walls, the ceiling, even on Benny's ears. Benny squeaked. "Ah, I'm covered in dough." Dottie flapped her wings. "Quick, Coco! Do something." Coco thought hard. How do you stop a dough monster? She wondered aloud. Then she had an idea. Dough grows when it's warm, right? So maybe if I make it cold. She dashed to the fridge, opened the door, and called, "Hey, dough monster! Come get some milk!" The dough monster wobbled toward her. Koko stepped aside, and whoosh! The monster slipped right into the fridge. Koko slammed the door shut. Phew! That should cool it down, she said, wiping her forehead. They all waited quietly. Then, creak! The fridge door opened slowly. The dough monster stepped out, frozen like a cookie statue. Everyone cheered. You did it, Koko, but then, crack! The monster's arm broke off and landed on the oven. The oven was still warm. The dough arm sizzled and baked into a giant cookie. The smell filled the kitchen. That actually smells amazing, Dottie said. Suddenly, all the frozen dough started to thaw again. Oh no, Koko gasped. It's melting. The monster slowly softened, wiggling again. Cookies, still hungry, it growled. Koko's eyes widened, quick. Plan B, Benny shouted. Maybe we should feed it cookies so it stops being hungry. Good idea, Koko said. They hurried and baked a tray of small cookies as fast as they could. When the cookies came out of the oven, warm and sweet, Koko held one up. Hey, big guy! Want a cookie? The dough monster paused. It sniffed the air. Then it gently picked up the cookie and ate it. Good cookie, it said softly. See? Koko smiled. You don't have to make a mess. You can just enjoy cookies like everyone else. The dough monster nodded slowly. Cookie, friend, Koko said, giving it a high five. Well, a high paw. The dough monster giggled a bubbly, doughy laugh. Then it began to shrink, smaller, until it fit in a little mixing bowl again. Hey, it turned back into normal dough, Benny said. Dottie quacked. Now that's what I call a happy ending. Koko smiled proudly. I guess the secret ingredient wasn't sugar or flour. It was kindness. She baked the rest of the dough into perfect, golden cookies. When they cooled, everyone gathered around the table. Koko passed out cookies to all her friends and even placed one on the counter for the dough monster's little bowl. Thank you, dough friend, Koko said sweetly. The dough monster gave a tiny wiggle and whispered, yummy, before falling asleep. Koko laughed. Good night, dough buddy. Later that evening, as the sun went down, Koko, Benny, and Dottie enjoyed their cookies together. They talked, giggled, and promised that next time they'd all bake together. Koko raised the cookie high and said, here's to teamwork, laughter, and learning from mistakes, even the sticky ones. They all shouted, cheers, and took a big bite. And from that day on, Koko never baked alone again. She learned that even the biggest messes can turn into the sweetest memories with a little help from friends. Thanks for watching Tiny Tales Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more funny and magical animal stories. See you next time. And remember, always be careful with your cookie dough. Bye-bye, kids. Koko and her friends cheered.